Well, hello there, friends and family. Now, I thought you'd be back later this evening, since I sort of told you we'd be cooking up something yummy. Of course, it's rather simple and comes from harder times, but simpler times. You know, way back in the day, when we didn't have as much and we appreciated everything. Yeah, nothing like today. And what we'll be cooking up is an iconic sandwich. Yeah. Let me go over the ingredients real quick before I tell you a little bit of the origin and history of what we're making tonight. And then our primary protein here, of course, is going to be ground beef or ground meat. The 73% lean, 27% fat. Yep. We're going with the flavors in the fat, folks. Similar to what would have been when these were made back in the day. We're going to need some salt, some black pepper, some garlic powder, some onion powder, and some of that there Worcestershire sauce, and a small yellow onion. You can use white, or if you want to go fancy and use one of them sweet onions, or red, go for it. And like always, the engineer in me's got to have some measuring utensils. We got some bread, just like it would have been back in the day. No, wasn't no hamburger buns ever going to see the likes of this sandwich. Not back then. And of course, we brought out our famous cast iron pan. Nothing better than to cook you up and brown some ground meat. So what is this sandwich? You might think, well, he's going to be cooking us up a hamburger. Well, sort of, kinda. Except we ain't going to be making patties. Oh, this came before the patty. Nope, this is a loose meat sandwich. No patty making required. You skip that step or you eliminate it. And this sandwich is still found today, and the people are quite fond of it out in the Midwest, especially in Iowa, where, as historical food archives have said, is where it originated from. In a small sleepy town then, in the mid-20s, called Sioux City, Iowa. Yep. By a man called Frank Angel. It's Angel, but with two L's, so I figure it's Angel. Yeah, old Frank there, he had a diner, and a customer came in one evening, and he wanted a sandwich. Quick and beefy. So good old Frank threw some ground meat in a skillet, browned it all up, seasoned it, piled it on some white loaf bread. Yeah. You know, with the onion, and served it to the man. The man ate it and finished it, and he exclaimed, that sandwich was made right. Oh yeah. Of course, he said Maid Rite. Maderight. But then Frank, which would become the founder of a small diner chain, which today still exists, which is named after that sandwich, the Maid Rite. Frank played it off as Maidrite. Yeah, the Maid Rite. And named his diner chain after that. And you can still find Maid Rites throughout Iowa, Wisconsin, Missouri, Illinois, and a couple locations, I believe, in Ohio. And they're wanting to expand to other locations even now. But another fun fact. This was the granddaddy, I suspect, of another iconic loose meat sandwich that we're all more than familiar with. Yep, the Sloppy Joe. And here again, we have to go back to Sioux City, Iowa, where it is said that in the 1930s, during the Great Depression, a chef named Joe, of course, sort of figure he was a cook, what he did was he was making up loose meat sandwiches, and he added tomato sauce, and thus the Sloppy Joe was born. And hey, who don't remember in 1969 when Hunt's brought out the Manwich Sloppy Joe sauce in a can? And oh yeah, I remember the commercials. And I remember my mom picking up the can when she wasn't feeling up to it and didn't want to make a big meal. Oh yeah, she'd crack a can of Manwich open and make them up for all of us kids. But that's the history, so it is written and archived, of what is referred to by many in the Midwest as a loose meat or Maid Rite sandwich. So, I got a little dicing to do, and we got to heat up that cast iron pan. Remember, takes a while. And we'll get to making up our sandwiches for tonight. I hope you enjoy. Appreciate you coming by and watching. Well, we got the old cast iron pan heating up, and we're going to show it just a little love. Yep. And we're going to add just a touch, not even a tablespoon, of good old olive oil. Yeah, just show her some love. And we're going old school. We're not getting out that modern day thing that chops up the burger. I'm feeling a little bit nostalgic, I am. So I wanted to use something just like great grandma would have used. And we're just going to distribute that oil some on the bottom of our pan. Lube her up a little. Make her happy. She's been with me 45 years now. Got to keep her happy. And we're going to lay in this nice ground beef. We'll just give it a little break up with our hands. You hearing that sizzle? Yep. Now I'm going to wash up. Don't worry. Uh-oh. Some jumped out. That'll be okay. I like to play in my food. Maybe you don't. But if you don't, you can put a glove on, or you can just use one of those modern marvels to break up your meat. Let me wash up, if you don't mind. Watch this. Make sure nothing happens to it. So yeah, gave our hands a little quick rinse there and wash. And some of that there, you know, antibacterial soap. Something great grandma couldn't even dreamed of. And many of you have been with the channel a long time. You'll recognize this old wood spatula. I probably had it 40 years too. Yeah. People were a little worried about it. So they sent me those modern day utensils, which I use quite often. Like I said, this goes back to a simpler time in my life when I was a child. And I told you a little bit about the history of the loose meat hamburger sandwich. But funny enough, you know, my first experience with it was not in Iowa or anywhere near the Midwest. Nope. It was in Johnsonburg, PA it was, on the high, steep mountainsides of northwestern Pennsylvania. Yep. At my great-grandmother's house, my grandma Westerberg. That would be the first time, and many times more, that I would experience the delicious loose meat sandwich. You got to understand, these people came through some of the hardest times, and it just wasn't the Great Depression. My great-grandparents were born around 1880, or a little bit before. Yeah, when the country was still wild and being settled. Up in Pennsylvania, logging was the primary business of the day, and still is around that region. I mean, the only thing Johnsonburg has ever had going for it was the paper mill, which to my great surprise is still operating. It's where my great uncle Charlie worked, and my great grandfather Jack. They surely did. I think my father there picked up some spare money on occasion when he'd come in off leave from out of country, or what we refer to as in country, which I've never quite understood that. You're not really in this country. You're in another one. You say you're in when you're really out. Yep. I couldn't have been more than 4 years old when my great-grandmother introduced me to this, which makes me wonder who actually did originate the first loose meat ground beef sandwich. And like I said, we had them all the time, and it wasn't just her that made them. My grandmother on my father's side, my grandma Himes, she made them as well, up in Bradford, Pennsylvania. Not too far from the state line of New York, which was the actual state that I was born in. Never did figure out how that all came to be, except that my mother's parents had at some time moved from PA, apparently after my mom and dad met, and she was staying up there when I was born. Yep. Remember, I was born a Yankee. I'm Southern by choice. Yeah. See, I didn't have a choice. Or rather that, I had a choice. And I decided to make my life here in the deep south of Alabama. Well, you see how easy this is. And since some people say browning meat and all that is so much work, I'm yakking at you while we're doing it in real time. And you know, you can make it as chunky as you want, but the originals was all crumbled up. And here again, great-grandmother, grandmother, and even my mother, you know, they didn't have a name for this. Never once called it a Maid Rite. And I know for a fact that that particular time in history, they had never been to the Midwest, let alone Iowa. But I'd leave home and go on my merry way, and I'd forget about this simple, delicious sandwich. That would be until the late 90s, when I would wind up in, of all places, Iowa. That's a story in and of itself. And there again, I would experience the loose meat and Maid Rite sandwich. Yes, I would. And ever since then, when the hankering gets me, I make them up again. Now the seasoning is simple. You know, unlike now, where people tend to dump, you know, a ton of seasoning in everything they make. You can't even taste the meat hardly anymore. See, they didn't have that luxury and that abundance back then. Also, through World War I and the rationing thereof, rationing started in World War I. Now we got that on fire. We're going to kick it back a little and continue to cook off our meat. Don't take long. Ain't been going that long. Well, I've been telling you, my stories. Of course, that's part of this. This ain't for the youngins and the people who want one of them there darn TikTok videos or shorts. You know, here on my channel, when we produce a meal, we've always got stories and things to say. You know, sort of like back in the day, the Cooking Network and all of that. Cooking shows were an hour. And we all tuned in and loved them. Well, that's what you find here. You're going to always find some stories along with some good eating. Ooh, this old cast iron pan. She's loving making up some good meat. You might wonder when we're going to season her up. Well, that's coming now. We're going to drop her down to low. We're going to start adding some seasoning, if you don't mind. And the first thing we're going to be adding is, of course, some ground black pepper, which is our digestive aid, I might add. So we're going to drop us in to that 1 pound of ground beef. I didn't tell you how much. 1/2 teaspoon. Of course, as always, once we're done, taste and adjust seasoning to your own personal preference. To that, we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. Yeah, buddy. You might be saying, well, aren't you already putting onion in there? Yes, I am. Next, we're going to be adding 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, which is going to equate to about 4 cloves, if you know your dry to fresh ingredients. Yep, it's 1/8 of a teaspoon per garlic clove. So right before your eyes, we dropped in 4. And just to boost the flavor up some, yep, all the ladies, they love the Worcestershire sauce. So we're going to put a nice tablespoon of that right on in there, just like that. Did you hear it? That pan's loving that stuff. Ooh, and I can tell you, and the flavor, you can tell, because the smell, when we drop those Worcestershire sauce in there, that onion powder and garlic powder, she came together. It's got some delightful smell now. And that means delightful taste. And right towards the last, we're going to add some salt. Now you're going to have to salt it as much as you want. I would say at least 1/8 of a teaspoon to start. Give it a taste test and add accordingly. You know, we got, us old folk, boomers, we got to watch out for our salt intake. But it really isn't our cooking, unless you heavy with the salt, that causes the problem. It's eating all that processed food in the center aisles. That box stuff, because nobody can do nothing from scratch no more. Hamburger helper, stovetop, Kraft, macaroni and cheese, and the list goes on and on and on. And see, what I'm going to do right now is give it a little test with the tongue and see if the seasoning's just right. So we got out our calibrated taste tester. Put us on a little bit of that seasoned brown meat. And browning's the key, not graying. Notice mine's brown. That is about perfect. Woo! Man! That Worcestershire sauce, I don't know about you, that gives it like a smoky flavor. Yes, it does. Now, the last thing you want to do, right before your meat's done, is you want to add some chopped onion. Yeah. You don't want to do it in the beginning. And the whole reason for this was so you'd have a little bit of crunch provided by the fresh onion. So now that our meat's all nice and browned up and seasoned, I'm going to add in that one small onion. If you don't like so much onion, and you're not a fan of onion, or don't understand the health benefits, then don't put it in, or cut it back. 1/4 of an onion, a half, whatever you want. Now, I understand the health benefits of onion, as well as I love the flavor. Like I'm always telling y'all, onion is antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal. It's sort of like nature's medicine cabinet. And you're just gonna let that onion cook in there for about 3 minutes or so, and then turn off the heat. And then we're ready to start making our sandwiches. There we have it. Don't take long. Let's give it another taste test. Make sure it's just right, and all the more better. Let me get another spoon. Got us another spoon. Don't want spoon police coming after us. Let's try a little bit of this. Yep. Woo. I don't know if you can hear that crunch, but it's just right. No wonder my great-grandmother lived into her 90s. I'm thinking it had a lot to do with the onion. So we're just going to kill the heat. Place some of that there aluminum foil over to keep her nice and toasty. Get out the condiments and toppings so we can make our loose meat sandwich our way. Okay? So we've got out our condiments and our fixings. And this is where it all comes together. Ooh, look at that. That seasoned ground meat and onion. Over here, we've got some of the favorite toppings. We've got some chopped dill pickle, some more onion, because yep, people would still want more. And some chopped lettuce, right there. But the classic was just the ground meat and yellow mustard. Yep, just the plain old stuff. None of that there fancy stone ground stuff. No. But for me, when I was a child, like most children, our favorite condiment was good old ketchup. And then, some preferred mayonnaise. But something I've learned, here again from a diner, was using mayonnaise on one of the slices, albeit whether it was bread or a bun, to coat it with. And what's that all about? Let's keep the grease from soaking into the bread. Because as we all know, mayo is nothing more than oil and eggs with seasoning. Yeah, it seals the bread. There's a little fun pro tip there for y'all. So hey, you know, having anything other than yellow mustard on it, sort of kind of like sacrilege in the Midwest. But nowadays times have changed, and the Maid Rite diners will allow you to have it any way you want it. All you have to do is ask. Well, let's get you all to the side and start making us up one of these wonderful loose meat sandwiches. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to seal my bread with a slim coating of this wonderful Duke's mayonnaise. Not a lot, just a little. Yeah, about like that. Now we're ready to add in our ground beef mixture with those lushly cooked onions. Yeah, put as much as you like. Keep it on up if you want. If some falls off, hey, they'll give you a spork at the Maid Rite diner, just like that. Then we're going to add some pickles. Some of those chopped pickles we are, to add a little zing. Now you could go with slices, whatever you want. And since my palate has matured over time, I'm going to go with some good old Heinz mustard, just to give it a little more tang and some nice tangy bite. But I've still never got away from my childhood favorite. Yep, good old Heinz ketchup. Still use it to this day, I do. Though I think the last time I bought some, I actually bought Great Value. Times are getting tough, folks. So we got that. And to finish it off, just because we can, we're going to add on a little bit, not a lot, of that there chopped up lettuce. You know, add a little freshness to it, we are. And there we go. Then we're going to take the top piece of bun. No need to seal it. We're going to put it right on and give it a good smush. That's critical. And then we got to carve it up. So we got out the old chef knife. And we're going to give it a little cut. You know, we're giving it the diagonal. The fancy cut. Woo! Look at there. Let me show it to you. Let me have you put your eyeballs on it. Okay? We're going to come on in here and take a look at that. Are you seeing that? That's what it's all about. Yeah, buddy. A Midwestern and PA favorite. A loose meat sandwich. The Maid Rite. Just like great grandmother made all those years ago. And I'm still enjoying it today. Now granted, it's plain, it's simple. And you're still going to taste and enjoy the flavor of ground beef. Something nowadays, with everybody piling the spices on, you probably don't even know what ground beef tastes like anymore. But yep, back in those days, when they could get it, or they could afford it, they wanted to taste the meat, not a cupboard full of spices. The only thing left is give it a taste test. And that's what we're going to do. So there you have it. Let's give it that taste test, like always. Oh yeah. Well, that's flavorful. Woo. And that don't knock your pants off. Woo. I don't know what will. And you can even still taste the flavor of the beef. You know what? I hope you'll give it a try. Make it your way. And finish it off your way. And remember the times. Life was harder, but a lot simpler in America. Enjoy. So until the Kitty Crew, Gracie, and Lily Bit, see you on that next video. Y'all take care. Stay safe out there. May God bless you as you bless those in your lives. Goodbye for now. It's late. I'm hungry. Ooh, could have made some fries. I think I'll make up another. And that'll be all right. Oh yeah. That's Maid Rite. Y'all. Later.